Etienne, I don't have any fucking kind of intro.
I don't have an
I could
intro
just
either.
sing fucking howls.
I was gonna say, like, as kind of like a preface, like, if I speak negatively of anything in this, it is only in relation to the other Miyazaki works, or my perception versus my perception of public perception.
Oh, this is very true.
There's nothing but love for Miyazaki in my heart and in this podcast.
Absolutely. And thus, dear audience, dear readers,
oh God!
You have now come in to our great. Yes, we are. I am inside. Brad Neely is he's one of my spirit, just like Porco Rosso. We are doing Miyazaki. Both Etienne and myself, the two big dudes, have watched 9 full-length Miyazaki features, slightly different lists, and my friend Etienne here has also watched 2 additional short-ish things, because he's a madman, a beautiful madman. And
well, I think both of the Panda Go Panda things combined into one, they're basically a fucking movie.
Yes, no. Okay, you were counting Panda Go Panda. Okay, yeah. So, no, then you actually...
I've seen like 10 technically.
Okay, so 10 full-length movies. And today we are going to be discussing their comparative merits and the overall stylistic nature of Miyazaki's work. For those of you who do not know and are not familiar with Hayao Miyazaki, what the hell? Like, seriously, kid, what the hell? Go, like, pick up a newspaper, crawl out from under your rock here. You know, well, what you doing? Pass the cannolis, Grandma, I'm moving my dick here. Watch some Spirited the fuck away, you know what I'm saying? It won an Oscar. It won Oscars. But, one of the basically biggest animators in the last 50 years in Japan, runs Studio Ghibli along with a couple of other homies, which is one of the biggest and most famous studios in Japan. Hayao Miyazaki is an incredibly perfectionist artist who's retired twice and twice come out of retirement because the other people at the studio can't fucking hack it.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially like leaving stuff to his son and his son being kind of subpar.
Well, yeah, I heard Earthsea was just such a travesty that he just instantly came out of retirement and was like, no, son, you are not in control of my company.
The people that know about Earthsea really love Earthsea. So, like, it's one of those, like, the Tales from Earthsea works were weird, and I enjoyed them, but I'd been more divorced from the books, and, like, there's like, you know, a core set of books there, and then there's extended... We don't need to get into this right now.
Regardless, because neither of us watched this, because this is his fucking fuck-up son's work, not the man himself's work.
Right.
Miyazaki is also remarkable. There have been many comparisons drawn between him and Kurosawa, because both are kind of perfectionists and very specific in their style. Kurosawa refused to transition to color until long after everybody else had gone to color film. Miyazaki absolutely refuses to go to any form of computer animation. He doesn't computer enhance any of his animation. It is 100% hand-drawn. And he's a huge asshole about it, and I love him for it. And he's an incredibly bitter, strange, cynical man who believes that mankind should die out and be replaced by the grass because the grass is more natural. But he doesn't believe in inflicting that on the children. So he has these incredibly beautiful pieces where he's able to capture these glorious childhood blisses while also having really nasty, real shit. Real fucking shit. Like, and you know, it's kind of the appeal and the draw of his work, besides the fact that it's fucking gorgeous. Like, absolutely ridiculous. First brought to the U.S. by John Lasseter, I think was the big guy to do it. He was the big proponent of bringing over Miyazaki's work. Anyway, I've jawed on enough about the background of Miyazaki. I think we should get actually into the nitty-gritty meat of this. So, Etienne, what were your films, and in what order? I'm quizzing you as though I'm a teacher and can actually answer the question myself. Nah.
Panda Go Panda, which again is the combination of the 2 technical shorts.
Yeah.
Mr. Doe and the Egg Princess, which was another purely like visual short, which I absolutely loved.
Nice.
The Wind Rises, Howl's Moving Castle, Laputa Castle in the Sky, Nausicaä in the Valley of the Wind, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Castle of Cagliostro, and Porco Rosso.
Which is excellent. And We were talking about this beforehand, but I'm sad I didn't get to Panda Go Panda, because I love Panda Go Panda, even though it's fucking stupid. And technically, while Miyazaki was the animator and the director of animation, he did not write or direct the piece.
I thought he wrote it, but did not direct it.
I thought he didn't either, but I could totally also be wrong.
I
mean, you literally just rewatched it, and I hadn't.
Well, it was a couple of days ago. Yeah, like, it's a weird one. It's funny going from that, especially, like, the first film that I saw was that, and, like, yeah, I watched something in between, but the next thing that I watched was The Wind Rises, so going from, like, extreme levels of happiness to extreme levels of depression.
Well, and also, like, the very beginning of Miyazaki's, like, leading, animator career.
Right.
To his last film. He literally did his first and his last film back-to-back at the beginning. Which is kind of cool. So describe that. Tell me, how is that contrast? Sorry, I don't mean to be, like, radio hosting you. I feel like I am.
It's fine.
It's weird. I don't like it. Slap me, Etienne.
I mean, you could
make me feel like your bitch. All right.
That was not an audible slap.
No, it wasn't.
I don't want to inflict actual pain. Just slap yourself.
Oh, don't believe him. He's abusing me.
On air, we have proof.
Uneditable proof.
It's interesting. Like, again, like, going from the pure joy to, like, the more depressing work of Wind Rises, and, like, having the more fleshed out themes in Wind Rises, stuff that he's more known for.
Yeah.
There's the persistent theme of flight.
Yes.
Which,
throughout all of his work,
I think Panda Go Panda is, like, one of the few things that doesn't have it. Simply because of the nature of little girl who meets a panda and good times ensue while Granny's out of town.
I mean, it's literally The Cat in the Hat crossed with fucking Home Alone. That's the film, which is why I love it, except, it's the panda in the hat, and it doesn't have a hat. And
no, the panda has a hat. Because after she's like, oh, you'll be my daddy, blah, blah, blah. She gives him the hat. Oh, my God,
that's right. That's fucking right. Oh, Christ. So it is Panda in the Hat. Jesus. But yeah, so that's, and especially, like, you look at the animation style of that, and I never saw Wind Rises, but especially his late stuff, like, he got so incredibly meticulous on the animation.
Well, the funny thing, Mr. Doe and the Egg Princess, like, it's a short, and it's a purely visual short, but it's also some of the best animation I've seen from Miyazaki / Studio Ghibli. Like, it is absolutely beautiful. It's one of those things, because it is such a visual medium, and because they put such time and effort into it, like, you really don't need words.
Yeah.
It's a feast for the eyes, literally. And, like, it was something like when I was watching Mr. Doe and the Egg Princess, like, he animates food in such a way that you just want to fucking eat it.
Jesus.
And, like, the pinnacle of animation that is seen in Mr. Doe and the Egg Princess, and, like, the amount of food that is consumed in Mr. Doe, and I was just like, God, I'm hungry now.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to.
Too bad it's like 1 a.m. I'm not gonna be able to eat.
I gotta check that out then, because looking at my two favorite examples being the feast in fucking that turns the parents into pigs and Spirited Away,
right?
Just being like, oh my God, what is this?
If I was in a Miyazaki film, I would probably gorge myself and turn into a fucking pig myself.
Yeah, it's fucking food of the spirits. That shit is dank. And then even just the lunch in Totoro, which I loved. That there's just the whole sequence of Sasune?
Satsuki.
Oh yeah, Sasuke.
Mei and Satsuki.
Yeah. Making the little bento boxes for all of them for lunch. And I was looking at that, and I was sitting there, I was eating a bologna sandwich, and I was like, motherfuck.
This is my life.
You people are poor as shit, and you making bento boxes. Oh my God, I wish I lived in Japan, but wait, I don't wish I lived in Japan, because everything's more expensive. Anyway. But you're absolutely right. It's interesting looking at that kind of through line of flight. I was noticing that there's specific things. I've never done this kind of concentration of Miyazaki films before, because it was, again, like, I've watched a bunch of them, like, spread out, but, Like, over the course of the last few days, I've watched The Nine, and the female lead is super, super common. The theme of flight is super, super common. The destruction of wildlife is a continual through line. And the theme of nobody's actually... One of my favorite things about him as a filmmaker is that nobody is truly a villain. Like, I can't point to a single one of his movies where anyone is actually evil.
Again, that's based on perception. Strictly looking at things objectively, I cannot argue with that point.
Yeah.
But there's emotions that are evoked in his works where I go away hating certain characters.
Yes. And that's definitely understandable.
So, again, like, trying to separate the two out objectively. And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, a lot of, you know, who's the bad guy, who's the villain is all based on perception anyways. Yeah. So I would totally agree with that point. What else did you bring up in that?
Flight, female leads, young female leads.
That's something I was going to talk about. I think that's something that gets over... emphasized, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I love that, but I truly think that part of what Miyazaki does in his films is have like a little something for everybody.
Yes.
And like
I would agree.
There are often female leads, but they're also usually paired with male leads.
Yes.
Like there's a counterpoint for everybody.
And the male leads are always paired with female leads as well. He's hitting all those points. But I also loved really watching through it and being able to be like, this is the only anime director that I can go to regularly and not have to worry ever about, like, creepy, weird fan service.
Right.
Like, literally none. And he's just, like, very realistic. There's a purity in a ton of the interactions that I'm like, oh my god, thank you for not making me stare at this and wonder whether or not this is a creepy sexual thing. Oh my god, thank you. Thank you. Like, and just very practically dealing, like, with Kiki's delivery service. Like, there's all the stuff where, like, because she's, like, bombing around on the broom, like, yeah, every once in a while her dress flutters up, but that's because, realistically, it's going to.
But they're also fucking children, and, like, if that happens, they're wearing, like, fucking bloomers. It's something that's, like, realistic and not sexualized at the same time.
Yeah, it's perfectly not sexualized. Or the sequence in the bathroom in Totoro, where... They're all bathing together. The whole family's bathing together because that's just what you do.
Japanese custom.
Yeah. And it was so nice having that and being able to be like, oh my god, yeah, I don't have to analyze this. Oh, yeah. Ooh, thank you, Miyazaki, for not being a creep.
Yeah, it's one of those things that there's a lot of, like, even movies of his that have, like, clear and present danger and, like, moments of tension. There's always, like... the sun on the horizon. There's always something on that next hill.
Even the darkest of the movies, there is some joy or some hope at the end, which I think that, of the ones that I've seen, definitely Mononoke has the darkest ending, but it still has that thing at the end where the sprouts come back and the forest spirit, there's the little forest spirit that quivers. Right. And it's coming back to life. And I really enjoyed that, because if you look at, like, the rest of it, I would say that, like, Nausicaä, which was fun, I haven't rewatched Nausicaä in a few years, it's like a prototype of Princess Mononoke, just even nastier.
Which is, I think, like... Nausicaä was one of the last of, like, the mainstream Mononoke films that I watched.
You mean
not
Miyazaki?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to clarify that for the audience.
I've been sleeping poorly and hopped up on caffeine, so I'm a little bit loopy.
No, it's fun.
But yeah, the mainstream Mononoke films, and
you did it again. I'm done.
I'm only human. I'm flawed, Patrick.
You what?
The mainstream Miyazaki. I looked you in the. You are my rock.
You are my sunshine. Yes. No. I'll be your own.
I'm gonna chip off your fucking eye and use it as material then. You fucking prick.
I'll make a fucking knife out of you.
But it's one of the last of the mainstream Miyazakis that I'd seen, and because there's so many of the themes that I've seen played out again and again, like I was seeing a lot of parallels with Mononoke, I was seeing a lot of parallels with Laputa, and because of that, and because it was the last one of those that I'd seen, I was kind of like so on it. I still am to this day. I mean, I think there's a lot to like in it, but it's one of those things when you've seen the theme so many times repeated, that like
seeing that first.
I'm not saying that it wears a little thin, but it kind of wears a little thin, at least for me.
Well, and especially I feel like there's a precision with some of his later works that wasn't as much there in Nausicaä. And don't get me wrong, like I absolutely adore Nausicaä. It's one of my favorite of his films, but he hadn't yet totally refined his style, and it's the only time that he was trying to adapt a much, much larger work, because it was his own manga, which was very large, and which he had written for like 15 years. He'd like done solo for like 15 years, and was trying to convert that into a film. And again, as we were discussing before, it's like, it's hard to narrow something that big down, and I think that because of that, it moves a little quickly through stuff that you wish took more time, that they were more expansive about. But I can definitely feel that, because it was kind of that when I got to Pom Poko when I was doing my watch through, which I don't know if you've seen.
I haven't actually seen Pom Poko.
Pom Poko is total batshit insanity, and is also like, yes, watch as humans destroy the lives of these raccoons for 2 hours. They fight a desperate, tooth and nail guerrilla war to try and stop the humans, ending with a desperate last-ditch charge where all of the raccoon warriors enlarge their testicles to the size of automobiles and attempt to smother the riot police, and are instead just shot.
Damn.
It's like, because they're raccoons. The whole idea of Pom Poko is it's based on a real actual thing where during the 60s, during the economic boom, tons of people were moving to Tokyo because of all of the industrial jobs there. So they started massively building subdivisions around it and clearing out the forests and those hills to make the subdivisions. And there was a mass raccoon population there. And it's dealing with the raccoon's perspective of it, using all of the raccoon's traits from traditional Japanese mythology. So they can change shape, they can change their appearance, they're masters of disguises. When humans aren't around, they turn into these giant, like, weird bipedal, like, werewolf-y things that are half raccoon and kind of humanish. And also the males can enlarge their testicles to a ridiculous degree that makes no sense.
No. I'd heard stuff about this before. And, like, I've heard that there was definitely, like, layers of absurdity there.
It's pretty, yes, but it also is, like, just very, like, stark. Like, they lose. They lose. They lose everything. You, like, watch, like, most of the children die, and then, like, the rest of the raccoons who can transform are like, and now we live as humans. And it's horrible. And I don't know how these beings live this way. And I stare at the forest, and I'm sad. And then, like, at the end, he, like, runs back to the wood, like, to a golf course, and there's, like, a population living on the golf course, and he, like, rejoins the raccoons there. And the whole idea is, like, they will survive, but we still fucked them. And it was, like, getting that, and having that be, like, alright, okay, man, like, it's rubbing my face in it again. Alright, Miyazaki, I get it. And I thought Pom Poko was a great fucking movie, but, like, yeah, I had only seen part of Pom Poko, and I didn't realize, like, how far down the, like, flush toilet it went in terms of just fucking the raccoons. But yeah, he hits a few of those notes so often that you're a little bit like, whoa, Nele, whoa. Well, and also, even just, like, Nausicaä at the end of Nausicaä looks exactly like Princess Mononoke. They have the same hair. They have the same face. They have the same build. There's the pissed off shot of her looking over her shoulder, and there's a pissed off shot of Princess Mononoke looking over her shoulder. And I was like,
I'm sure it could be, like, micro-dissected more, but I don't think we need to.
No. And I don't hate on it.
One of the things that, like, didn't really draw me in about Nausicaä as much as like the other films that have similar themes that he's done is there weren't those like weird characters that I really fell in love with, or those creatures that drew me in. Like, you know, there's the forest spirit and there's the tree spirits in Princess Mononoke that like you just absolutely love. You know, there's the robots in Castle in the Sky, which I absolutely love.
I haven't actually seen Castle in the Sky. I'm sorry.
You broke my heart, Fredo. Castle in the Sky is tied with Howl's Moving Castle as my favorite Miyazaki.
Oh, shit. Okay, for sure. Well, I'll have to add that one to the list.
Like, other people don't seem to like it as much, but there's something that film does with merging the mundane and the magic, because Laputa is such this ancient city, this ancient civilization of power and magic and energy, and yet it takes place largely in the real world. Of, you know, it's set in Japan, there's people on airships, there's, you know, a mining town, there's all these things that like you can see and be like, okay, that's something directly taken from the real world, contrasted directly with the city that everybody's fixated upon.
Well, and that's really cool, because that's one of the things that I love about his work is how he plays with that line. The same way he does with the beginning of Spirited Away, which is one of my favorite things, is that it so perfectly mimics a dream. Like, you have a dream, and you're moving to a new place with your family, and then you go through, and there's these strange rules, and everything goes nuts. And it's like playing with that surreality that's just behind every surface of reality. And that sounds really fucking cool, so I'm going to have to check that out.
I will say, going back to it, though, that the female lead in it is probably my least favorite female lead in anything that he's done.
That's too
bad. Like, Sheeta is kind of like milk toast, and you're just like, all right, like, I love a lot of the elements that are at play here. Like, I love a lot of the other characters, but like, I just like I can't get into her as much as I can get into everybody else. And the interesting thing too is there's a strange disconnect with like how the beginning is set up, because the movie starts off with a pirate attack on this airship, and you know they're after this little girl and this crystal, and the people that are set up to be like the enemies at the start of the whole thing actually like become some of your favorite characters, and like some of the people that you love, and like they may be pirates and everything, but they've got a heart of gold. And like, there was something when I was watching it again, and I was like, you know what, this movie definitely has its flaws. Why do I love it so much? There's some, like the Dola gang, which is the gang of pirates. They are almost like purely comedic relief. Like, they're good at like certain things, but I'm just like, you've created this world that blends the mundane and the magic, and you have this, you know, constant threat, this presence. There's something going on that's gonna lead to cataclysmic events potentially, but there's so much fucking comic relief in this that I'm just like, so good.
Well, and knowing how to play that, again, you have those characters that you can fall in love with that are mysterious or just kind of like have that flavor that explodes in your mouth, like Kamaji in Spirited Away, or the fucking cat bus in Totoro, which, like, literally the entire point of Totoro is like that slice of life exploration of this little family, but then also these characters that you can be like, I just fucking love that. And they're almost entirely comic relief, even though they're like a part of the wider story, which isn't always comedic. And again, I think that's true of almost all of his films. He includes those characters because they make the more bitter pills that he's shoving down your throat a little bit easier to swallow, and they make it more like life. There's always that life thing. And it's funny because that's, again, jumping back to the nobody who seems like a bad guy is like truly a terrible person. Like, it's that same idea. You have the pirates who actually turn out to not be bad. You have Yubaba, who's an antagonist for the vast majority of it, and Zaniba, who's vicious when you first meet her. Both of whom are just people with their own agendas.
Right. and you grow to love Zeniba, especially by the end of it. Like, when they go to the bog, you're just like, holy shit, like, you are genuinely good. You just wanted to fuck with your sister, because she's kind of a bitch.
And you were fucking pissed, because homie stole your magic shit.
Yeah, true.
Like, you're an epic level witch. You don't need to deal with that. Or going to Mononoke, which has one of the most emotionally charged conflicts in it. And every single side is relatable and is sympathetic. And even the monk, who is the closest to an antagonist there is in the film, other than Lord...
Asuna, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I can't even remember his goddamn name. He's just kind of like this...
Who's not even there, right?
Yeah,
it's the samurai that are harassing the villagers and whatever village that fucking Ashitaka goes to. Like, I mean, obviously it's Irontown at the end, but like, I think the kind of thing is that like he runs in the samurai, and it's the same samurai from the Lord throughout.
And it is that same guy. But, I mean, even he isn't really a villain because he isn't really there.
Right.
All of the characters who you're actually dealing with at the end are able to grow from it and come out of it. And even the monk is odious in a lot of ways, but is also totally understandable. Like, he makes it very clear what his philosophy is. We're all fucked. We're all gonna die. I'm just trying to survive, like everybody else.
Right.
This is my key to survival. There's the whole
line of, like, you know, everybody wants everything, but I might actually be able to have it.
Like, yeah, like, fuck, man, you expect me to not go for this? He's a chaotic neutral. And
I'm sorry, I fucking hate that character. And I hate Lady Eboshi.
I feel.
There's a lot to love in that film. And yes, the characters are not cut and dry, which is why, like earlier when we were talking, I'm like, yes, I cannot objectively say that either of them is a true villain, because they don't fit into that box. But, like, I don't know, even rewatching it this most recent time, like, I have less of a feeling of, like, they learn things and it's all gonna be better. Like, yes, like, there's that whole thing about rebirth.
Yeah.
And the forest spirit has given up his life to give everybody else a chance.
Yeah.
But I still kind of want people to die because I don't feel like they've actually learned anything, and they've pissed me off throughout this fucking movie, and I'm just like...
And Eboshi is so myopic, she's so narrow-visioned about what her goal is no, I'm going to protect the interests of this group of people, that she does not give a shit about the fact that she is crapping all on everybody else. And she ends up destroying so much that is good and beautiful and just wants to exist in the pursuit of that. And again, I don't like her. In fact, like, she makes me angry, but I love that you can't call her bad. You know? And at the end, she isn't necessarily even an antagonist. Like, everybody is fighting each other.
Right.
And nobody's completely in the right.
Right. Every point about her character, though, that is supposed to be good is tempered with something. Yeah. Because she's always using everybody around her.
Yes. But, again, it's one of those, she is obsessed with the greater good. She is.
I don't know if you can truly say that.
The greater good of her people as a whole, the greater good, like, I think so. She governs this place and she's doing everything she can. She rules it with an iron fist. She doesn't allow dissent. She's using everybody towards the best purposes, but it's not like she's sitting on top of a heap of gold making all of the money. She's making decisions that are the best decisions to protect everybody in the city. As far as she can tell.
They are a means to the end. She wants to grow bigger. She wants to expand. Like, they even joke about it, like, you know, Lady Eboshi wants to rule the world someday.
But I don't think that it's entirely that, because she does protect her people when she doesn't need to. When she could have been like, I need to save those guys. Those guys are disposable. She doesn't ever throw people away in the film.
I mean, she kind of does. She doesn't go back when she could have to save the people because she's making a pact to kill the forest spirit because that's going to further her goals. She doesn't try and save those people when they fall off the cliff at the beginning of the first scene. Yes, they're probably dead.
There's no fucking way anybody living through falling off that cliff.
But, again, like, she doesn't even try.
Okay, you do make a good point on the later one, is that she doesn't go back because she's made the deal to do it. But in killing the forest spirit, that's what Lord Osai wants. That's supposed to end the siege on the town. It's, again, I don't think that it's necessary. she might not be emotionally attached to the people, but she is protecting them, and I think that she does believe in that, even if she is also being a user. Because everyone is all the humans in that are users to a certain degree, except for Ashitaka, which is, again, part of Miyazaki's very negative view of humanity, which, I don't know if I ever told you, the reason I know that whole thing about his viewpoint is there was a great profile on him years ago in the New Yorker, where they'd gone to the Ghibli Museum in Japan, which, for the audience, is supposed to be incredible. It's basically this giant, like, museum of all of the Studio Ghibli films, and, like, dozens of rooms of, like, activities and climbing structures, and, like, open grassy play areas and crazy shit, and, like, mini movie theaters for children. It's like this ultimate playground for children. And they went there and, like, toured the museum and interviewed Hayao Miyazaki. And he went on at length in the interview about how we all deserve to die, and the earth should destroy us, and will destroy us, because we've already fucked up too bad, and the earth is now against us, and it should all go back to the grass. But hey, I don't believe in putting that on children. That's why I give them happy things. That's why I made Totoro. And I was like, okay, Hayao, fuck. And it's interesting that then you have those darker pieces where, yeah, like, the humans aren't good. The vast majority of the people aren't necessarily what you could call good, but he understands the complexities enough that they aren't exactly what you could call bad.
Right.
Either.
No, and I agreed to that, and I have clear disdain for those two characters, and everything that they do that is good to some degree or fits in with their perception of the world, I have a problem with, because it's tempered with something that I dislike.
Absolutely. And I can definitely understand that. Despite everything, I actually love the monk. Like, I dislike Eboshi, but I love the monk. In part because I love both the Japanese voice actor, and I love Billy Bob Thornton's performance, actually.
It's funny, too, because, like, that's something that, like, specifically when you talk about the voice acting in Mononoke, is he's somebody that gets picked out as being weird and out of place for what he did, because he's always Billy Bob Thornton. You love Billy Bob Thornton, but he's always Billy Bob Thornton. So it's interesting to me that you feel that way.
He has this, he's still Billy Bob Thornton, but there's this softness to the way he does the lines. There's this rhythmic patter to it. That's something that I never heard from him in anything else. And I think it's perfect for... It's just the bullshitting. It's this, like, spinning everything in his direction continually. The whole monologue where they're at the destroyed village and he's just waxing prolific on, everybody dies and nobody cares. And that's, but I mean, that's the way of the world. So you're dying, so the forest is dying, so your people are dying. Who gives a damn? We're all dying. I mean, that's what it is. I'm going to keep eating these noodles because I can ceaselessly speak in this strange rolling pattern. I loved what he did with that. Which brings me to another point that I wanted to talk about, which is the weird inconsistencies of the dubbing on Miyazaki's films. Because I think that some of them, the dubs are really, really good. And there's some of the few things where I'll actually, like, listen to
Fuck you, airplane.
No, you know what we need?
Helicopter.
You know what we need to bring that airplane down? Let's see, we need ourselves a small airplane that we can fly at them.
We need our Porco Rosso.
We need Porco.
Well, actually, we need our Red Baron.
I was actually thinking of the...
We need Michael Keaton. We need Batman.
Which, again, I like the English dub better of Porco Rosso than the original in terms of the voice acting. But you go to Nausicaä, and as much as I love Patrick Stewart, I think that the English dubbing was off. I don't know whether it was the direction or the exact way that they timed it or whatnot and the way that the lines are, but it ends up causing, I think, pacing problems that aren't there when you watch it in the Japanese. Because that's always been my big problem with Nausicaä is the pacing problem. And this is the first time that I've watched it with the Japanese and subs. And I was like, damn, this has none of the pacing problems. Like, this picks up every moment. I'm not sitting there going, why are you all staring at each other right now?
I should go back and rewatch it in Japanese then and see if that helps it any. It's interesting too because like there's such. I mean, you mentioned Patrick Stewart, but there's a lot of names in that one in the redubbing. So I mean, again, it might have been direction, it might have been problems with timing, it might have been whatever. But it's interesting to me that there's always somebody who's high profile in the Miyazaki dubbings, and he does that. At least one person. He does that so like you don't have to watch it subbed, that you can enjoy it in your language, and you can be, you know, more further able to like delve into the natural beauty and what's actually happening than reading. And like I think that goes back to his whole thing about like truly like the visual medium for telling the story being arguably the most important. Yes. Which makes sense, you know, in terms of how he views the world, that like his landscapes so very important, and also like
it's literally all just landscapes.
The duality of doing like manga and anime, and manga being a purely visual form at the end of the day, and the transition between that.
And I definitely feel that and it makes sense because, again, he's trying to invite everyone in. All of his films are really trying to invite you in and be so accepting and be something that immediately makes you go, wow. And you're there, like, in it. Like, Howl, every time. That opening shot of Howl with the fucking castle coming through the mist just gets me. It gets me the same way.
That may be my favorite Christian Bale performance.
Yes. Which I didn't actually realize that was Christian Bale until very recently. Like, favorite Christian Bale performance of his whole career?
I haven't seen a whole lot of Christian Bale, to be fair. I've seen him as Batman. I've seen the shite awful Terminator Salvation. Yeah. I've seen Equilibrium, and I can't like name anything. So I mean that may be why it's my favorite Christian Bale performance.
Part of it,
but like I love Howl.
Yeah,
I love the movie. Like,
even if he's just such a whiny bitch.
Yeah, but
which is part of the point. But like,
right, there's like layers there because like you get a lot of personality through him, and I think Christian Bale, more than any other film that he's seen, regardless of the performance that he's done in it, whether good, bad, whatever, there's a lot of diversity to the character of Howl.
Yes.
In terms of like how he portrays that emotion. Yes. I think he does a good job of making that come through in the voice acting.
And I actually, I would 100% like I 100% agree, because Howl is such a diverse character. He's all over the map, and he hits all of those notes. And even I was gonna say, like, in terms of, you want to see, like, I had always thought of my favorite Christian Bale performance is The Machinist,
which I definitely need to see. Like,
which is a tense, unpleasant piece of work in a lot of ways, but it's fucking, he does a great job, but that character is far more focused than Howl. And Howl has such a diverse range of emotions and states and everything else, and he hits all of them perfectly. From the, like, go away, like tantrum in the tub, to the, like, points where he's, like, laughing and he's, like, joyful and he's all over the place, to the, I'd appreciate it if you didn't torture my friends.
Yeah. I
like,
maybe better than performance might be display of capability and acting range.
Well, no, and actually, I would say, because I do think that is an important part of performance, Howl actually might be his best performance. Like, you've changed my mind on that. And that's because I hadn't really considered that, but that's really, really true. And, like, all the voice acting in that one is also
I
really tops.
Like, I love, like, I don't think it's because Billy Crystal played him, but I love Calcifer.
Yes.
Like, Calcifer is one of my favorite characters in Studio Ghibli, Miyazaki, anything. Like, if I could hang out with one fucking character from a fucking Ghibli movie, it would probably be Calcifer.
That's pretty fucking sweet. I don't know. I think, like, I'd probably... God, if I could kick it with one character from one...
There's a lot.
Oh, no. Porco, dog.
That's true.
Porco.
That's a good choice.
Because he's going to get drunk. He's going to be drinking bomb-ass wine. He's going to bust out, like, sweet cheese and sausage and, like, dank-ass
He knows
food.
everybody.
Yeah, like...
Sorry, I just started, like... In my head, like, he knows all the best places. He got all the... I was like, fuck Trump 2016, Porco Rosso 2016.
Dog, I would vote fucking Porco Rosso. He's a far better pig to have in the White House.
Ooh. Shots fired, fired.
Yeah, probably.
Like the shots that Porco wouldn't take because he didn't want to kill a man.
Which, you know, like...
Survivor's Guilt, the movie.
Yeah, literally the entire fucking film. I'd rather be a pig than fascist. Flies out of a son of a bitch. Which I finished. Porco Rosso was the last one. I finished
Porco Rosso was the last one for me too. I watched that this morning.
Oh my god, that's great. Yeah, I finished it at like 11:30. So it was like, Porco Rosso. Like, it's my finisher. Like, I love Porco Rosso because it has those. It's almost entirely comedic relief. And, like, the fun, silly, crazy stuff. But it's also a great commentary on that period in history in that region. It's really well researched in all of those regards. And also those moments, again, it's Survivor's Guilt, the movie.
Right.
So when it hits those dark moments, they fucking kick you right in the nads.
Kind of like the whole, like, elements of stuff in Totoro, and, like, the sickness of the mom and, like, dealing with death and everything. But, like... 90% of the movie is like going on adventures with spirits and seeing all these crazy creatures and everything.
Yeah, we're gonna dance around the sprouts and they're gonna be a giant tree. And like
Porco Rosso is very similar in that way, that there is so much comedic relief, but underneath it is something that is so real and so core.
Yeah. And I especially visually and soundtrack wise, it was really interesting watching Totoro because, again, this was first time for me on, all the way through on Pom Poko. It was completely first time for me on, My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service. And, watching, especially Totoro, there were so many visual and musical cues that I could directly go like, this is the prototype of all of this greenery that you see in Mononoke and all of these things that you see later on. Spirited Away, there's tons of auditory cues. And it was, again, the first time that he was playing with, like, Spirit World, Our World, kind of overlapping, but not totally. And so there's so many of the, like, humor moments in that like, mirror the humor moments in Spirited Away. And, like, looking at those through lines kind of passing through, I thought was really, really cool. Even if at the end of Totoro you're like... about 4 things happened.
Yep.
In this movie.
Which is why to be honest, Totoro may be my least favorite Miyazaki.
Okay.
It's something that I know gets a lot of love, and I may get a lot of flack for this. Like, I like the movie. It's fine. It's a little too slice of lifey for me.
I feel that.
And, like, yeah, I love the design on Totoro. Yeah, I love the cat bus. That's why 99% of the people love this film so much.
Yeah.
But, like, entirely. I'm sorry, like, 2 character designs does not make a film.
No, and I agree. And I thought that the ending of Totoro and the beginning of Totoro were both kind of weak. The, like, just, like, 3-minute long, like, dancing acorns and marching children, 2-dimensional shot thing that opened and closed the film. I was a little bit like, what?
I think that's a callback to some of the other animated shorts and stuff that he's done.
Well, and it was a direct visual callback to Panda Go Panda, which I found really interesting watching that and being like, wow, this was not, wow, he was trying to do that style. But Kiki was really interesting to me because it was also very much just slice of life. Like, there's no... The closest thing to a villain there is in it is the shitty little girl who's like, God damn it, Grandma gave me another pumpkin and herring pot pie. Which admittedly sounds terrible.
Right.
It sounds miserable.
Which is, I think, the entire point, especially because like 90% of the food, like we were talking about earlier, and Miyazaki is so scrumptious.
Yeah.
And you have that thing that, like...
like, why? There's just a whole fish. Like, it isn't even... It's just sitting on top of the pumpkin with the bones and all. Like, why... What? And, like, that moment happens. And literally the closest that there is to a villain in the entire piece is that shitty little girl. And literally the rest of it is about Kiki's coming into her own.
Right.
And figuring out who she wants to be. And I thought that was so totally... It played with a lot of the same themes and a lot of the same feels as other of the pieces, but it was kind of totally unlike them. It was like totally unlike anything else I'd seen from Miyazaki. And I guess it's closest in form to Totoro, because it's another one where like not a lot of things technically happen.
But you feel like there's more character progression there.
Yes. It's all character.
And, like, there are times when there are, you know, clear and present danger and things are going on, and, you know, like, she loses her witch's powers.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck. There's the whole bit at the end where the whole, like, accident with the dirigible, and, like, people could die.
Yes.
So, like...
And no one does. Literally not one person does. Also,
it's a Miyazaki film.
That propeller should have killed someone.
Yes.
That propeller really should have killed someone.
There have been a few times when I've been watching things and I've been like, okay, somebody should have died there, but whatever.
And that's one of those things about specifically Miyazaki that I like, is that he does draw that line where there's the ones where, no, nobody dies because that's not what this movie is about. But if the movie's about it,
right,
he just guns motherfuckers down. Like, rewatching Cagliostro, Castle of Cagliostro, and being like, Jesus, they just fucking... asshole who gets, like, all the fools who get crushed in the clock scene. Like,
well, yeah, main character gets killed. Like, you're like, oh shit. And in, like, one of the most gruesome ways possible. Like, there's the close-up of it, and I was like, holy shit, is he gonna show this? Is he gonna show this? And then you're first. No. And then there's the cut back.
Yeah.
Like, you conspicuously know what happened. Ain't no way, like, you don't see him again.
You hear the squish.
Motherfuckers living through that.
Yeah. And it's not, they don't go all the way to the Mononoke point where they're actually like, here, we'll show you the gore. Which is part of what is interesting about Mononoke.
Yeah.
They don't go super gory, but like...
Because again, the point of it is not that. But like, there's the whole, even the bit at the beginning with the cursed boar and like, the repeatedly like Ashitaka showing everybody the scar. Like, this is what hatred does, motherfucker.
And it's but violence is such an... I love that violence is just one other tool. He doesn't think that it needs to be a part of every movie. That kind of conflict doesn't need to be a part of it. And so you have these movies that are completely without that kind of conflict, and then movies that have that kind of as a central thing, which I like. It's just one other tool in the box.
He's talked about, you know, basically being a pacifist, and it's interesting, like, war being such an element of his movies, and it's him trying to make points with it as a tool of, like, this is what's going on in the grand scheme of things. This is what's happened in history. This is how it affects people. It affects the environment. Affects, you know, everything in the sphere that we live in.
Webs of connection.
And like, I absolutely love that, and the fact that it ends up being a tool for something greater. I know you haven't seen it, but The Wind Rises, I had mixed feelings about. I loved it when I saw it. Then I found out that it wasn't. It was more fictional than biopic. He did some things blending stories, because it's about the guy who designed the Zero for the bombing in Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
Yeah. But
I didn't know that.
It's biopic of that guy blended with The Wind Has Risen, which was a 1937 story or poem by Tatsuo Hiro.
For sure.
So like there's elements of both, and there's gray areas and there's liberties in it, but it was something that, like, there's this constant backline of war, but the main part of the story is the perversion of beauty.
And that's a big thing for Miyazaki, like, throughout.
And like, I absolutely loved it, and I think he did that as like one of his final pieces, A, to emphasize that point, and B, you have people in your life, or people that you read about, or people that you find out about, that you have a kinship to.
Yeah.
And there's something about them that resonates with you. So I think him finding out about Jiro and the whole process of, you know, designing the plane and everything, resonated with how he felt about the perversion of beauty, and about, you know, the nobility of flight being distorted and taken to something that it's not.
Something brutal and violent and warlike, as opposed to this joyous thing. again, that flight as a joyous thing, as the symbol of pure joy. It's the joy moment in Spirited Away. It's the joy moment in Totoro. It's the joy moment, like, in... Kiki has to, like, re-find her joy in flight, like... That's really interesting. I've got to see Wind Rises then.
Yeah, I think you do, and, like, specifically with that mindset, like, there are elements in here that are historically factual. There are elements in here that are not.
Yeah.
What are the themes and what was he trying to get at with it? Because I've also sat around with people who have seen the film and disliked it, specifically because felt like it was glorifying hero who eventually created something that led to a traumatic event in U.S. history. And I don't think that's what it was at all.
That's not the point.
But, like, again, like, it's about watching it with the right mindset.
Yeah, I feel that. And, see, that to me would not...
I understand.
Like,
I'm just saying, again, this is how I felt. I've seen other people react to it differently.
Yeah,
I get the lens that they're viewing it with. And, again, I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that's it makes sense, because you end up viewing, we all are stuck viewing things through our own lens, which, you know, that whole idea of humans polluting and destroying the earth also comes from Miyazaki's age, and the fact that, again, it's the deep psychological trauma that we were discussing before with both Paranoia Agent and Akira, that deep psychological scar that came from the end of World War II, both the bombings, the fire bombings, that kind of imagery,
right,
and then also the nuclear strike itself, which, like, I mean, the 7 days of fire, like, all of those things in Nausicaä and in all of its other iterations throughout his work, you have that, and it makes sense that going back to a person who was involved in what is essentially considered the inciting incident of what led to all of that makes sense, that this is someone who was trying to create beauty and that it was perverted into something dark that ended up leading to this great tragedy. And it connects, I think, to, like, all of his basic feelings about humanity, and I love that idea then. And it makes sense then also that he's glorifying the guy. But I mean, in the same way that Oppenheimer and all the other guys who worked on Project Manhattan afterwards were like, we broke the world. It's our fucking fault. And most of them were unable to really live with that guilt for the rest of their lives. It really fucked all of them up, and it's that same concept of the guilt. There's that wonderful line in Nausicaä, you need to stop this from happening, because otherwise what's left of my people will never forgive themselves. The jack-offs who are floating the baby Ohm out to...
Pedgite. I don't remember exact names of
No, but Pedgite,
people,
I think, is correct.
It was that was the nation that they were from.
Yeah, the Pedgites.
And they were trying to get rid of the
Takameka Terabangs.
It was Tell something.
Yeah, it's Tellerat. There's also a K in the middle of it, and there's an R in the middle of it. I don't remember. Telmechians, nice. Dog. There's no R in it, but yeah, no, dude, that's fuck yeah, Telmechians. Which just there's so much of that thing where I just wanted to take a magnum to every, like, half the characters' heads and be like, you're an asshole, and why can't you actually... All right, whatever. That's obviously the point, is that you don't fucking get it.
That was one of the things, I mean, again, going back to that, I kind of already made the point. Like, I think it's a solid film. I love it. It's got the same great themes. It's got amazing art. But, like, they're not those characters that I connect with as much. And there's not the, like... Again, like, little, like, frou-frou, like, wonderful characters that you insert yourself into and that you love. Like, the tree spirits, or, like, the soot in fucking Spirited Away. Yeah. Like, the little, it's the little things.
Kamaji is the first one that really, like, got me by the balls, and I was like, oh my god, I love this fucking guy. Like, Kamaji is the boss. And... No, you're absolutely right. It definitely makes that one more of a hard slog, because that one is really just starkly, like, nothing is okay. Hey, yo! Jumping back, like, several topics, just because this is something that I wanted to make sure I hit before we end today. I love looking at Cagliostro as one of the few examples of, I think probably the only, other than Nausicaä, example of Miyazaki converting a well-known other work to film. Because Lupin, he's using this character that was already massive in Japanese animation and had gone through all these different iterations. There'd already been like 200 episodes made of the original show and the live-action movie in the 70s, and a bunch of other animators had done films in the world. And it was really interesting watching that, and there's still definitely being the same silly, like, that's Lupin swimming up a thing. Lupin can heal himself by eating a lot of food. Oh, man. But, like, Lupin almost dies.
Right.
He's doing the whole thing to save this little girl who helped him. He's not doing it for profit. Right. There's this contemplative nature to the whole film of, like, there's a hell of a lot more thinking than there is in any other Lupin work that I've ever seen. Because they are, like, thinking about it. It's taking its time. Because Miyazaki always takes his time. And that's actually something that I love. And even in something like Lupin, where it needed to move quickly. And it still managed to move quickly while still taking those moments of, no, we're going to look at this.
Right.
We're going to visually explore this. And we're going to take a moment to intellectually explore it while it's being visually explored. And I loved that. Bringing depth to these characters that weren't totally there. Like, even Fujiko. I mean, like, yeah, she got her own at the end. But, like, Fujiko acting far more, let's say, noble than I think I've ever seen Fujiko before in any other Lupin-related work.
Any other Lupin thing. I know I need to.
Oh, my God. As a comedy dude.
I've needed to for, like...
my God.
Like... I saw this and I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to say it's my favorite Miyazaki because I've only seen it once.
Yeah. Okay.
Last night was my first time watching it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And, like, I was like, all right. I was kind of on the fence. Should I watch this? Should I not? You know, it's not, you know, it's not a Ghibli work, so it doesn't have the same, like, you know, gravitas when you talk about Miyazaki and, like, things that he's done. But I loved it, I think, because it was the most different. Because he's working with something else, he's getting outside of his shell. There's not a lot of the same themes that you have playing out in a lot of his other works.
Though there's still some. There's the transformation, there's all of those ideas of... I mean, other than the fact that the Count is actually... Okay, the Count is cartoonish mustache twirling evil. So that is one movie where there are actually clearly antagonists that Miyazaki did.
And I think... I mean, again, the you haven't seen Castle in the Sky. So when you do, I'll be interested to see what you think of that villain.
Okay.
He's got his own, like, subset of, like, morals and ideas, and... he's doing things for selfish reasons, and you could probably put the whole, like, you are a villain sticker on him. But, I mean, again, it depends on the lens that you're looking through.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's still also the respect and the love for the older world and the older world being revealed, also in Cagliostro, which I enjoyed. Like, the treasure at the end is a Roman city. It's fucking archaeological gold. That's what it is. That's the whole fucking thing. The Count would have
been so pissed off.
Oh my God, are they just giving him the rings and he's like, but...
I almost wish that would have been the ending where he lives and then he gets taken to jail by the fucking inspector.
Dog, I love Zenigata. Zenigata, and that's also, it's one of the few times that Zenigata and Lupin ever cooperate. Because generally Zenigata is psychotically opposed to cooperation with Lupin.
Which, I mean, he still is, and, like, there's a whole, like, okay, I understand, like, we have to get out of this scenario, or we will become another one of these fucking corpses.
In the fucking dungeon.
But, like, after we get out, I am arresting you.
And he's like, cool, shake on it? I'm not touching you. Well, wow, man. Like, I know Zenigata's, like...
The, like, chess match that's all set up by Lupin.
Yeah.
And, like, I need this piece here, I need this piece here, I need this piece here. I'm not controlling any of these pieces, but I'm orchestrating them.
Yeah, just push it and nudge it.
I thought was fucking excellent.
And that's always one of Lupin's abilities, is that he's playing giant, huge, crazy game, and he's constantly improvising. So the pieces are in motion, and he gets how all the pieces are moving, so then he can exploit them.
Yeah, I know that I've needed to see Lupin for a long ass time. Yeah. And, like, people have talked to me about it. I've wanted to see it. I haven't, like, gotten off my ass and done it, but I think that this is
understandable.
probably the final like kick in the ass that I needed
to do it. Well, because again, there's like 200 or 300 episodes of the original show, and obviously they went through a few different animators and writing teams over the course of it, and it goes all over the place and is very inconsistent in certain ways, and it isn't as pretty as Miyazaki's turn with the character.
There was something too, like simply because the time that it was released, I like. His animation in that is not as polished. Like, you have the wonderful landscapes and everything, but, like, there's not as much development with characters in terms of, like, their faces and how they look. Like, it may be because he's, you know, twirly mustache cartoon evil, but, like, there's just something that looks off to me about the Count's face. The entire
it's
movie.
shaped fucking wrong.
And, like, it may have been intentional. It may not have been, but it perturbed me.
And I would wager that it was probably intentional, but even then, like, it makes sense, especially, like, once you watch the TV show, like, the faces are very basic. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to call back to that style while still being unable to completely do so because he's Hayao Miyazaki, and goddammit, there's a certain quality to his work that he insists upon, because he goddamn oil painted every single one of those backdrops himself. You gotta deal with it. But yeah, you know, I think that's part of the interesting thing about watching his work, just looking at it as a whole, is that he manages to both have these consistent themes that he's exploring, these consistent feels that he creates that are you watch it and you're like, this is Miyazaki, and you're getting that Miyazaki flavor, like, almost every single time. But also being able to do such an incredibly wide variety of genres and real film styles while you still get that flavor. And I think that the music exemplifies this beautifully. Oh, yeah. It all sounds like Miyazaki music, but Kiki's Delivery Service is all French folk music influenced, and Spirited Away is all like Japanese folk music influenced, and Porco Rosso is all like big band jazz, and you like go through, and each of them it's the same base dish with such different flavors, and he creates such a wonderful, nourishing base dish that I always want to come back, and I always keep coming back for more.
I very much feel that. Like, there were points when I was listening to stuff and I was like, oh man, the soundtrack's great. And then there'd be like individual lines and I was like, I could just overlay that with this other thing from this other Miyazaki work. And like, don't get me wrong, still love it, but
this seems very close here. Yeah, no. So, to everyone out there in the TBD world, I would encourage you to check out Miyazaki's work. We should include, I think, a list of all of the movies that we watched and talked about here, just as a, like, watch it, goddammit. Because, like, I truly think that,
like a cliff note on the thing.
Like a cliff note on the thing, either at the end of the video or in the description. Just so, like, if you really want to go through and actually watch all of these that we've watched and we've talked about today, I would encourage you to do so, and I don't think that you will be disappointed. The man's work is truly spectacular, and there's a reason that he's lauded and he's loved. And as Etienne said at the beginning, like, any negative commentary that we are making on his work is within the realm of, you know, it's still fucking amazing work. Like, this is the worst thing Leonardo da Vinci ever made.
But it's still gold.
Yeah, like, still Da Vinci. So, go out. Watch Miyazaki. Remember. Sorry, babe. Gotta fly.